Hey guys, and we are rolling. Welcome to episode 43 of the Ministry of Freedom Show. I'm Jim Moats, and I want to say thank you for a couple things. First off, as I sit here today, the show is gaining some ground. We have more subscribers, more weekly viewers and listeners than we've had in our history, and we're going on our first year here. We got 9 more to do after this, and we'll get to our year anniversary. So that's pretty cool. So I just want to say thanks for the support. A lot of people are going back and checking out the initial shows too, going back to last November. So if you're brand new, when you have time, go get caught up. There's a lot of good content in there, and it kind of lets you understand who I am, what I'm all about, and what the mission of the show is. I do like to start the show with some calls to action for you. So first off, please share the show. The show grows by you guys sharing it. Pick somebody from your contacts that you think would benefit from the content of the show. Shoot it over to them. Send them a link, whether they're on Spotify or Apple. You want to send them the YouTube page link. Ask them to subscribe. All of that helps greatly, and there's value to what we're doing. And in these times, we need to get some positive messaging out there. So please help me do that. Also, what else can you do? Pick up my book. By now, unless you're brand new and haven't seen me on social or anything, and you stumble across the show, I wrote a book. It was released in June. It's called I Asked God to Kill Me. It's pretty good. I'm pretty proud of it. Sales have been good. The reviews have been largely positive, and I think you guys will like it. So if you haven't yet picked one up, please do so. I'd appreciate it. It's available on Amazon. Subscribe, follow me on social. My most active is on Instagram. I'm at Real Jim Moats. You can check out my Facebook. I'm at Jim Moats over there. So yeah, check us out. Follow along with us. Today, you get me by myself, SOLOCAST. We haven't done one of these in a while. And my plan is to get you out of here in about 30 minutes so you can move on with your lives. I like to include a scripture in each episode. And today, we're going to do John chapter 15, 18 through 19 from the New International Reader's Version. So you Bible people out there. So the New International Reader's Version, I'm guessing it's new, or maybe it's just new to me. It's like the NIV, but it's a little more modernized, a little more plain English. So it's pretty cool. So please check that out. I think you guys will get a lot of life from it. The title of the chapter is The World Hates the Disciples. So it starts out in verse 18. My disciples, does the world hate you? Remember that it hated me first. If you belong to the world, it would love you like one of its own, but you do not belong to the world. I've chosen you out of the world, and that's why the world hates you. So I want to talk about haters in the first part of our time together, and that scripture is just perfect. Who knew they were haters way back in Jesus' day, but there were, and we still deal with them today. I'm curious. I sit back and I think to myself, what is it about these types of people that they focus so much energy on putting down anyone and anything that is positive, and especially if it's Christ-centered? So that scripture explains it perfectly. I deal with haters. It's part of the process. Anytime, I don't even have that many followers in perspective, but anytime you put messaging out there and you're putting yourself out there and you're being vulnerable and you're trying to be encouraging, people are going to they're going to hate on it. And I don't even know why. Sometimes it's total strangers, never met me. Sometimes it's people I've known for 30 years and they just say ridiculous things. So most of the time I don't. I just consider it punching down if I'm just going to address all those things. I'm like, look, I'm on a kind of different plane than these folks, and where my journey's taking me is different than where theirs is taking theirs. So I'm like, I'm not even going to respond. But I wanted to share with the audience just a glimpse of what I deal with at times. So I put up on my Facebook the other day just a little something I thought would be a little bit encouraging. And oftentimes these are things that are encouraging to me, and I throw them out there because maybe someone else will pick up on it and it'll improve their situation. So I'll read it verbatim. If quitting is even an option, you don't have enough people to prove wrong. And then I put the praying hands emoji and the flex bicep emoji. And that was my post. I thought, "Hey, let's just move on with our day." And certain people, a lot of people are, encouraging about it and thumbs up and that and loving it and that kind of stuff. And that's cool. I had a guy, his name's Mike. You can go to my Facebook feed at Jim Moats if you want to see who this guy really is. But I've known this guy for years. He says to me, "Are you having a stroke? Can't make heads or tails of this gibberish." So I thought, okay. I don't even know what that could possibly mean, but whatever. I'm not even going to respond. It got under my skin a little bit. Keep in mind, I've known this dude for 30 plus years. We were roommates way back in the day. I haven't talked to him in person in decades, but I used to know him. I sent back, seems about right. You and I may be on slightly different paths, brother. And then he couldn't let it go. So he says, it's about the failed English. What is getting proved wrong? Actually, none of it makes any sense. I was done at that point. I'm not going to engage with this guy any further, other than to say, have a great weekend, Mike. His respond, his response was, hope you're okay. YOUR. Yeah, that's one of my pet peeves. Not the end of the world, but if a guy is going to take the time and energy to hate on a positive message that somebody's trying to put out there to the world, and he screws up the your, talk about irony at its finest. And it's been really funny because there's been people that have just beat this guy up on Facebook about, that's perfect English. What are you talking about? I just thought, think of that. Guy sees a message that if he really meditates on it, he'd think to himself, you know what? I've been at times where I'm trying to improve myself, and quitting was on the table. I'm not going to quit. I have too many people to prove wrong. He doesn't see that. He just decides I'm going to get on and try to belittle somebody that's throwing something out there to the world that might be encouraging. Man, in a nutshell, that's one of the things that's wrong. But haters are everywhere. It's just nonsensical. I can't believe how much of that stuff I see. Something else I wanted to share. So we're done with the hate for now. And I want to read you guys something that's positive. Social media, I'm not even sure how I feel about it, although I lean towards I'd rather not do it. And I think there's more toxicity in it than there is positivity. And I'm doing what I can to hopefully move that needle a little bit. But I did want to read this to you. This is from my friend Eric. So Eric and I reconnected because of the show. I've known him for a long time, since we were kids. And he's a super, super dude, great supporter of everything that I'm trying to get done. Always has kind words for me. And I just respect this guy so much. So I'm going to read this. He doesn't know I'm doing this, and he does listen to the show. He's probably like, oh boy. Um, but I'm going to share a victory because I think it's important for us to share in each other's victories as inspiration, motivation, and even some accountability. So here's Eric's post. 27 months ago, I left my job of 10 and a half years at about 260 to 265 pounds. The new job is more physical, so between that and a change in diet, I shed about 20 pounds in a year and a half. Now, after another 9 months and more diet change and going to the gym, I've lost another 20 pounds. That puts me right back to my high school weight of about 225 to 230. I only make it to the gym 2 to 3 times a week, so diet change is of utmost importance. I feel good physically, mentally, and spiritually. You can all do it. Peace and love to you. I wanted to share both of those because I want you to see the contrast in that. One is a guy who, although I haven't spoken to him in decades, I'm going to guess isn't on a perpetual path to personal excellence. The other guy is a dude that's all about spreading positivity, sharing the victories in his own life, putting in the work, and wishing peace and love to everybody that's going to read his posts. We have a lot of choices that we're going to be asked to make this year, especially in an election year. Don't be the Mikes of the world, like I've illustrated. Be an Eric. Choose which of those people you want to be. If you see something online you don't agree with, respectfully inquire about it or leave a respectful comment. If there's something that does inspire you or motivate you, share it. Reach out to that person and give them encouragement and thank them for doing it, because this stuff's not easy. And putting yourself out there like Eric did, that's not easy for him. I know it's not easy for me. So, congratulations, dude. I'm super proud of you. But more importantly, you need to be proud of you and stay on the path, man. I think it's pretty great. Moving on. You guys know it wouldn't be a Ministry of Freedom show if I wasn't diving into some politics, right? Especially with the mess we're in. It kind of ties back to haters. So we were talking about haters and things online. I'm a Trump backer. I believe in his policies for the most part, especially when compared to my other alternative. I'm not a Donald Trump fan from a character perspective. I do believe he loves our country. I do believe him to be a patriot. And I think he's a flawed guy, as all leaders are, as we all are. And I am going to vote for him in November. I throw that out there without reservation. To me, there is really no other option. But I wanted to talk to you guys about something I don't like that I see in him. And I'd be curious to know your opinion on these things. So comment, engage with me on social, and let's open the dialogue. So I watched a presser with him the other day, not a presser, a rally. And he fires up the crowd. There's 15, 20,000 people at this indoor arena. He starts talking about his opponent and other Democrats, and uses terms like lunatic, liar, says that they have low IQ, they're crooked, all of those things. So he uses all those terms to refer to what I now call, and I am going to go out there and say I might be coining this for the first time. I call this the Kamala Cabal. So their figurehead is Kamala Harris because that's the person they threw out there they think can garner some votes because she's a black woman, or an Indian woman, or whatever she's choosing to be this week. And there's a bunch of people behind the scenes pulling her strings that are part of that globalist cabal. That's what I believe. So we're rolling with Kamala Cabal. So when Trump does this, to me, he comes across as another hating troll that you see online when he behaves like that. Yeah, it gets the crowd fired up and they'll cheer and they'll hold up their signs and everything, but that's not going to sway people that are thoughtful. That's not going to sway people his way that want to have very they want to have policy conversations with some substance. So the only chance I think that he has in winning in November, and the polls, he had this wide margin in all the polls when he was going up against Biden, but that's shrunk. Those leads are essentially gone sometimes. And in some polls, Kamala has the lead. So I think we need to have a talk about policies. Trump probably isn't going to have a talk on policies. I'm going to throw out a handful of things to you guys, and I'm just going to, in my way, illustrate them and us. So by them and us, the progressives, the Republicans, the Kamala Cabal, the MAGA people, the right, the left, whatever category you want to put these groups in. I'm going to try to do a compare and contrast. So it might drill some of these down where you can make a more educated decision. Let's go through these. And I have some notes here, so I'm not getting out of order. So the first one I want to talk about is the border. It's a problem. They essentially want an open border. The Democrats, they're tightening it up, and they're gonna go back to some Trump era policies. They're being forced into this because they know they have no chance if they can't tighten this up a little bit. Make no mistake, they want an open border. They use our tax dollars to support these illegal aliens, and I'm still going to say illegal aliens. They support these illegals who flood into our country. So billions of dollars of tax dollars go to support this. So that's their position. What's the Republican position? Republicans are not anti-immigration. They're not all racist and they're bigots and they're misogynists, and those are lies. Republicans, myself included, are very pro legal immigration. If people go through the process and want to come into our country and they do it legally, they should be welcomed with open arms. They should have all the opportunity that anyone born here has. This country was built on immigrants. None of us would be here if it wasn't for immigration. The process needs to be streamlined to allow hardworking people from around the world to have an attainable path to citizenship. Right now, it's a mess. The red tape's crazy, but they can't just flood over the border. We got to have some idea of who's coming in here. And I also believe that those that want to come across the border and become part of our society, they need to become citizens and they need to assimilate to our society. I think, and this gets a little controversial, I don't think there's anything wrong with asking them to have a working idea of the English language. They don't have to be super proficient in it, and sure, speak Spanish or whatever your native tongue most of the time, but I think you should be required to know a little bit of English to get you by. That is our language. I think that we're going to go through an uncomfortable time sooner than later, and I think this will happen regardless of who wins in November, but there's going to be a period of deportations. There has to be. in order to gain some semblance of control again. That's going to be, as I said, really uncomfortable. It's just not sustainable what we have going on. So when we talk about the first topic I wanted to bring up, it's the border. Do you believe in an essentially porous, open border with no accountability? Or do you believe on a more streamlined path to citizenship for people that want to be part of our country and they should assimilate into our society and be pro America when they are here? There's two sides to that. Think on it, pick which side you're for. Next issue, abortion. It's a really emotional issue. A lot of people make their entire voting decision on abortion. I can't vote for anybody that gives a woman any kind of choice, and then or vice versa. We got to get out of our emotions. We have to understand that there's half the country that believes strongly that women should have a choice on whether or not to have an abortion. And there's a portion of our country that believes absolutely never, not even in the case of mother's health or anything like that. I believe there's nuance on this issue. I am a Christian person, so I do consider myself pro-life. But I do know that there are instances that we need to have discussions about this. The mother's health is important. That one's key. So incest, rape, these are conversations we need to have. I don't sit here and tell you I have all the answers, and that's not what the topic discussion is that I wanted to bring up. What I wanted to talk about is the left spins this Supreme Court decision that overturned Roe versus Wade as outlawing abortion. It is a lie. That is a lie that too many people are falling for. That decision that the Supreme Court recently made does not outlaw abortion. What it does, though, is they took it away from being federally mandated and controlled. They put this power back to each individual state. Well, why did they do that? It's because their job is to interpret the laws, to understand the Constitution. And as they look at this, they thought this is something that should have never, Roe v. Wade should have never been law. These are states' issues. Our republic was set up with states so they can vote and have issues state by state. This is one of them. So regardless of what your personal beliefs are, I ask you this: are you a constitutionalist, and do you believe that the court made the right decision and that each state should be able to decide and have that its citizens vote on whether or not abortion is going to be legal in their state and what the parameters are around those laws? Or do you believe that government should get bigger and start at the federal level overseeing decisions that you're going to make with your body? Pick which one, vote accordingly. Another topic that seems to be at the forefront most of the time is overwhelming crime. People talk about crime in these Democrat-run cities, and there's crime everywhere. But certainly it is way more noticeable. It's over the top in larger Democrat-run cities. So let's talk about both sides of that issue, the crime issue. So progressives, they want to defund the police. Did you pay attention over the last 4 years? They're anti-police. They want to defund the police. Now, if they walked some of that back recently, yeah, again, that's out of necessity. It's not what they believe. But they're sharp enough to understand if the money's going to dry up and they're going to lose elections, that they need to waffle a little bit and give a little bit. They want to defund the police. They're anti-police. They're largely pro-criminal, and they're anti-law abiding citizen. So how many of these smash and grab mass robberies did you see before liberals took the reins in our country? Not near as many, if any. Liberal DAs are refusing to prosecute criminals oftentimes. They're back in the streets within hours of committing crimes. It's demoralizing to police. Imagine you're putting your life on the line every day. You go out there and make an arrest, and you have all this paperwork to do. You put your life on the line to apprehend this violent criminal. He is locked up. He's going through processing. The next day, you're driving on your beat. You see him roaming the streets. It's demoralizing. They risk their lives every day for us, and it's a thankless job, and it's becoming more so. And what's going to happen is we're going to have not only less police, we're going to have less quality of people that want to be police. So the left is going to spin it and tell you that crime rates have fallen under President Biden. So I'm here to tell you that stat is technically true, but let's unpack the stat. So I did a little research here. Try to tell it in a story fashion here. So let's say there's 5 burglaries in my neighborhood this week, okay? 4 of those are quote unquote solved. The perps are arrested and they're charged by the DA. So for the books, there were 4 burglaries in my neighborhood. for that week. Now, let's say that those same 5 burglaries are committed and 4 are arrested and only 1 is charged. That means 1 burglary that took place is going on the books. So you see, these stats are nothing but clever spin. And spin is creating a set of so-called facts that support the narrative. So I believe the number of crimes, as we can see, has climbed exponentially. But since less and less are being charged in an effort to further dismantle our cities and instill fear, since less are charged, the stat says that there's less crime. It's a lie. Pay attention. You're smarter than that. Donald Trump has the endorsement of every major law enforcement association and organization in the nation. Fact. Is that telling to you? If you are one of the undecideds still, think about policy. Think about these issues regarding crime. If you're not sure of all of the facts and how the stats are figured and the manipulation of those things by the media, then ask yourself which candidate, the people that are out there enforcing the laws from a law enforcement perspective, those professionals, who do they overwhelmingly support? If you're pro law enforcement, anti crime, I don't know how you can vote for the Kamala cabal. I don't know how you can do it. I can tell you Trump's not going to stand for defacing monuments, raising Palestinian flags on the poles at our federal buildings, and commandeering college campuses, as we saw earlier this spring in the name of peaceful protest. He's not putting up with it. Trump wants us to be a law and order country, and the left wants chaos. That's as plain as I know how to put it. Which side are you on? All right, taxes. We love taxes, right? I'm going to touch on taxes. Try to lay it out for you again. Make a choice. The left wants to tax us at an even higher rate than we already pay. They're open about it. Our tax dollars, they're being squandered on handouts to lazy citizens and illegal aliens and to fund the seemingly endless amount of proxy wars around the globe. They're the party of the military-industrial complex. Now, there's neoconservatives, there's neoliberals, so to speak. These they want these endless wars, and they need to feed that military-industrial complex. Trump's not about that. How many wars were we in under Donald Trump? How many new wars? How many billions were getting sent around the world to fund wars? Do the research. So that's how the left wants to tax you and what they want to do with your tax dollars. Trump and those on the right, so they believe in incentivizing business and entrepreneurship. I know this isn't something that even Republicans want to hear because people are kind of not about this anymore, but it's a trickle down system, and I believe in it. The trickle down system where there's rewards for job creation and for bringing business, especially manufacturing, back to our country for people that are taking risks and going out there and creating. They create more jobs. When you incentivize this, more jobs are created, which means more money is withheld on taxes from paychecks, increases the tax base. These people now have jobs. They're out spending money. When we spend money, it creates more tax revenue, and it puts people to work and gets them off entitlements. It has to start at the top down. If you won the lottery, say you had $100 million, you're probably going to entrust that with people that have a history of knowing what to do with money, and you're going to incentivize them. You're not going to go to somebody that has no idea what they're doing with money and saying, hey, here's this, I'm sure you're going to figure out, and then it's going to trickle up. See, trickling, the word it can't go up. It doesn't go that way. We start here, we incentivize, and it builds the tax base. It's worked in the past. It will work again. Trump is all about that. Decide which economic theory that you align with. It's not that complicated. What about inflation in the economy? So it's a mess. What do the Democrats believe? They believe in taxing and spending. They believe in larger government, taking more from the citizenry and giving it to those who have made a choice to not contribute. They're going to spend us into a larger mess all the while continuing to print money, which continues to devalue the currency even further to the point where it might not even be the world's currency any longer. The Republicans led by Trump, so they have a lot of ideas, but it's basically a three-pronged solution to quickly jumpstart the economy and get this inflation and these prices in line. They need to curb, and they will curb, wasteful government spending. Conservatives believe in a smaller government. Liberals believe in a bigger government. Conservatives want to not have the government be as much in your life. Liberals want the government in every aspect of your life. Those are facts, which lines up with what you would like from your government. So number one is curb wasteful government spending. Number two, they're going to do a pro-growth tax and regulatory policy. And it's like what we talked about before. So you cut taxes for everybody. And yes, even those at the top. And you also go through here and you do away with a ton of ridiculous regulations and red tape. Make it easier to do business, in other words. A pro-business administration it makes sense, doesn't it? That's good for business. And what's good for business in this country is good for the economy. What's good for Wall Street is good for Main Street. Number three is we've got to get back to energy independence. And Donald Trump has a plan on day one. You heard drill, baby, drill. So increasing fracking, increasing drilling makes us safer, improves the economy. The Democrats vehemently against this. They just soon empty the strategic oil reserves in an effort to spin statistics during the election cycle. So they do not have your best interest at heart. They have their best interest at heart. So instead of just calling names, I hope Trump gets out there and talks about what he's going to do to fix inflation in the economy and goes over these plans because they make sense. Choose which one you're for. Here's one. How do you guys feel about men competing in women's sports? So which side's which? Okay. Liberals, a huge portion of the progressives, the KAMALA KABAL believes that there is in some crazy, bizarro world they want us to live in, that men should be in an Olympic boxing ring beating the piss out of women. I watch combat sports a lot. I'm all about it. I like it all. The violence doesn't bother me. I watched that Olympic bout and I almost got sick. I watched this man hit this woman twice as hard as anyone's ever been hit until she decided, hey, I'm out, I'm giving up. And that seems okay to the progressives. Just go back and research it, see what they said about it. Now, what does Trump say about it? He says, no more. There will be no more men competing in women's sports. We need to get men out of women's sports. We need to get men out of women's locker rooms and bathrooms. And we need to get back to telling the truth about gender. And Republicans are your only hope to make that happen. Pick which side of this issue that you're on. All right. I told you 30 minutes. I'm going to hit this really, really close. Let's sum this up. Get on with our weeks. Here's what I want to encourage you to do. Learn the freaking issues. Don't vote for somebody because, well, I hate Trump. Okay, well, he said something. He used the P word and grabbing women by their crotches and get over it. Was he good at his job? What kind of country do you want to live in? What kind of world do you want for your family? Know the issues, learn the issues. Stop being a mindless participant in a game of telephone being played in our country. Well, I heard that he said this and I heard this. Get educated, get engaged, and exercise your God-given right to choose the direction of the nation. It's truly in our hands. If we overwhelmingly get out there and vote, and that's on both sides. If what I've laid out for you today, if you're firmly, mostly on the side of the KAMALA KABAL, then go out on November 5th and vote for it. I encourage you to do that. But know the issues and know why you're casting your vote. We need to get out there and take this country back. I hope this sparks some conversation. Will this spark some more hate? Probably. But I welcome it because these are important talks and we're going to do more of this. Reach out on social, leave your comments on the YouTube page, and I will respond to them. And I'd like to start an open dialogue because we got a few short months and it's going to be crucial. In the meantime, keep your head on a swivel. Stand by.